And a very happy Monday to you at 12:06 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, the endless game of he's out, he's in, he's out, he's in is finally over as California Attorney General Rob Bonta has finally ruled out running for governor, saying he's going to run again for AG.
We're focused on the work. We are sleeves rolled up, heads down, arms extended in partnership, arms locked together to collaborate, to deliver.
You know, that could have been a drop from him saying that he's not running, but you'd never know because that's every Rob Bonta speech ever.
Well, maybe he took a pass because he can't get any more of that dong money.
Or he realized that with the incredibly weak field of candidates, he's not any better.
How much do you want to bet that he commissioned a poll with the money that he didn't use on a criminal defense? And he found out that he's at 4% or less in the polls.
And it probably varies in different parts of the state, but I got to imagine maybe he does a little better in Alameda County. But in Southern California, like in the West San Fernando Valley, he's probably polling at 0%. Like, I don't know, the neighborhood of...
in Topanga.
What was his excuse this time? Because the last time he said, Kamala's going to get in the race and she's going to blow everyone out of the water, so there's no point.
Well, his excuse now is that his job as AG is too important and he's too good at it. Here's KCRA3.
Also following breaking news at the state capitol, Attorney General Rob Bonta will not run for governor.
Bonta says he's reaffirming his commitment to defending California as Attorney General. Bonta releasing a statement tonight saying the outpouring of encouragement from supporters.
Oh, stop it.
Oh, who the hell is knocking on his door saying we need you to run for governor?
The outpouring of encouragement from supporters, friends, and family to jump into the governor's race.
Well, of course, Mia wants you to run because she'll find a way to make more money off of that.
Oh, yeah. Maybe she'll replace him as attorney general the same way she replaced him as assemblyman.
The outpouring of encouragement from supporters, friends, and family to jump into the governor's race has sharpened my focus.
Oh, good Lord.
Might be the phoniest person in Sacramento, and that's saying something.
It reminded me how grateful I am to work with so many who care so deeply for this state. My resolve is firm. Our fight against corporate greed and vicious attacks from Washington requires a leader with battle-tested experience in the courtroom.
Okay, so he found out that he has no viability as a candidate for governor, but he would be a shoo-in for re-election as attorney general. And if he gets reelected as attorney general, maybe he'll create enough news so that people will know who he is and he can run for governor somewhere down the line. And if not that, then he can run for lieutenant governor and he can be waiting in the wings for someone to get appointed to something else or to roll a 7, and then he can be governor. And if none of that happens, he can go back to Oakland and become mayor there, just like Shang Tao.
Oh, Shangy getting a shout out early today.
But to repeat the breaking news, California Attorney General Rob Bonta says that he really, truly won't run for governor this cycle.
And according to the California playbook, you know who is now seriously considering running is Matt Mahan of San Jose.
Well, he would be a dramatic improvement over all the other Democrats in the race. However, I just don't know if any Democratic voters out there are interested in the product that he's selling.
You mean common sense?
Yes, because all of the others are running on hating Trump. Maybe it's a way to separate yourself from the pack. Now, if he gets in the race and that becomes his platform, then that creates problems for Rick Caruso because that's the same product that he would be looking to sell too. And then they have two people working the same corner. So time will tell. There is a deadline coming up from the California Democratic Party as to when you have to get your name in for a potential endorsement. So if you're a candidate for governor, but you're thinking you might drop out of the race and run for mayor of your city or run for another statewide constitutional office or run for one of those congressional districts that's newly created, you better get your paperwork into the party soon. Otherwise, you won't be endorsed by the party in an official capacity. So there could be more movement in the race for governor. Now, while all of that is going on, we have news from yet another jackass who's wrecked your life here in California, and that is the California Attorney General, Ricardo Lara.
You mean insurance commissioner?
Yes.
Don't put any ideas in his head about getting another job.
Hang on one second. Hang on. Okay, I got that wrong. Now I've been punished. Now we can move on.
Ricardo Lara did something he doesn't usually do, and he did an interview with KTLA's David Lazarus.
Trailblazing is rarely comfortable, yo.
And the interview, which you would expect to be somewhat friendly, got very uncomfortable very quickly.
We love uncomfortable on this program.
Well, yes, we do. For more, here's KTLA. This dropped Friday afternoon.
The LA fires clearly had a horrific impact on both lives and homes. But now, a year later, as Southern California rebuilds, the state's insurance market may never be the same. I sat down with Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara to talk about what's next.
And how none of this is his fault.
Of course, because why would it be?
Nearly 36 people killed.
These people aren't coming back.
More than 10,000 homes destroyed.
I just want to see it with my own eyes. I know it's gone.
$65 billion in losses.
We're not finding much.
The LA fires a year ago left an indelible scar on the Southland. For California home...
Okay, he says it. It's a term that people outside of broadcast do not use.
And it's usually in the weather forecast.
Southland weather.
For California homeowners, the fallout from the blazes...
Seriously, nobody calls it. There was a TV show called Southland, and even they didn't call it Southland.
Nobody does.
For California homeowners, the fallout from the blazes continues making itself felt in the insurance market.
In the 100 days since the fire, our State Farm adjuster has never once set foot inside our home.
Like a good neighbor.
State Farm isn't there.
Thousands of property owners have lost coverage or face double-digit increases in premiums. What happens now, particularly in light of some insurers refusing to do business in California? I put that question to State Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara.
We're not going to be able to afford what doesn't exist.
Oh, boy.
Here we go. More words of wisdom from Ricardo.
We're not going to be able to afford what doesn't exist. We got to get companies.
Does this sound like somebody who is trying to regulate the insurance industry or somebody who's acting as a spokesperson for the insurance industry as to why they shouldn't have to pay up?
It sounds like he's trailblazing, yo.
Trailblazing is rarely comfortable, yo.
We got to get companies back into California and growing, bring down the risk so that we're able to be able to bring down the cost.
The way to do that, Lara said, is what's known as mitigation,
which the insurance companies do not have to consider when setting your rates.
How convenient.
Homeowners taking steps to reduce wildfire risk by trimming back foliage and enhancing safety measures.
And they can still drop you. And didn't Ricardo Lara just approve a change in the defensible space where now people that were covered by AAA in Orange County who were 1,000 feet away from brush were like, we're fine. Ricardo Lara signs his pen and now it's 500 feet and people are losing their coverage left and right down there.
Can you imagine Ma and Pa getting the mail one day, opening up the envelope, finding out that despite the fact that they took all of these measures to mitigate the fires, they've still been dropped from their policy? Pa turns to Ma and says, well, then why'd I quit smoking?
Mitigation is going to be key to bring down the rates.
When?
Not anytime soon.
Keep insurers back into these communities and bring down the cost of that insurance.
There's a catch, however. To get insurers to the bargaining table, state officials had to agree, for the first time, to let them factor in climate change when setting rates.
That is a signal for money.
And of course, they used the models that are produced by Greta Thunberg before she became all about the Palestinians.
Well, and the way that Ricardo Lara set this up is the insurance companies get to use their own climate models that we're not allowed to see. We just get to take their word for it.
That is, insurers can now bill homeowners for the possible future risk of fires and other natural disasters.
These new rules allow you to come in, price the risk appropriately, but now you have to commit to write in these communities.
Yes, you have to commit to write 5% more than you wrote before you dropped a whole bunch of different people when you knew that you were about to get all these rate hikes. So really, you got to drop everyone that was risky. You got to jack up the rates for the people that you kept. And then it sounds like a deal because you're going to write 5% more policies. This is a scam if I've ever seen one.
And I love the fact that he's trying to build this as if he's doing something for you. This is like going to the movie theater, seeing a sign that says, no outside food or drink allowed inside the movie theater for your convenience.
How much have average homeowner rates gone up in 2025 since the fires?
Well, that all depends because...
Hope doesn't want to answer this question.
Of course not.
Well, that all depends because...
By the way, shouldn't the insurance commissioner know that?
He should know a lot of things, but the only thing he knows is where to find the red door at LAX to get into your first class ticket.
Well, that all depends because those are different policies. Different people have different policies around the state, so it would be hard for us to pinpoint a specific number.
You have to have an average figure.
I do not, but what I can tell you is that 4 of the largest companies in the state are staying and growing.
Are you?
No, they're not.
Okay, what was that question again?
On average, how much have rates gone up?
On average, how much, I'm typing this into ChatGPT.
Oh, boy.
Much have insurance rates gone up in California in 2025?
Yes.
Okay, let's see how long it takes ChatGPT to come back with an answer.
Well, that all depends because those are different policies. Different people have different policies around the state, so it would be hard for us to pinpoint a specific number.
You have to have an average figure.
Look at David Lazarus asking a follow-up question.
Okay, according to ChatGPT, for homeowners insurance, it's 21%.
Maybe we need an AI to be insurance commissioner.
They'd go to Bermuda less often.
I mean, that would be artificial intelligence. Right now, we have no intelligence. But again,
we have natural stupidity.
But who's stupider, the elected official or the people who put him there?
Good question.
I do not, but what I can tell you is that 4 of the largest companies in the state are staying and growing.
Are you being deliberately evasive here, or do you just not know?
Oh, boy.
Ooh, the kitty likes to scratch.
That's the toughest I've ever heard David Lazarus.
Oh, he's about to be called racist.
Are you being deliberately evasive here, or do you just not know?
No, I'm not.
Are you stupid or a liar?
Are you being deliberately evasive here, or do you just not know?
No, I'm not trying to be deliberately evasive. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm being accurate.
Okay, ChatGPT took all of 5 seconds.
For the record, State Farm, California's largest residential insurer, received approval last May to boost rates by an average 17%.
And that was that hearing in Oakland that Ricardo Lara didn't even show up to because he had already given them an approval for the rate before they got the hearing.
And he had more important things to do because DJ Kitty Glitter was performing at Pride.
Days later, State Farm requested an additional 11% rate hike. That second increase is still pending.
Yes, because now people are paying attention.
And Ricardo doesn't like that.
This is what has so many people in the Palisades and Altadena calling for Ricardo Lara to resign because he approves rate hike after rate hike when his office has done nothing for the scores of homeowners who are still trying to get their claim paid out.
As for this year, a top priority for Lara and the Department of Insurance is to bolster the finances of the California FAIR Plan.
You mean the consortium of insurance companies that when they don't want to write you a policy, they write you a way worse policy that's not even totally legal with the FAIR Plan. And thanks to Ricardo Lara in changes he made a week before the fires, anytime the FAIR Plan goes broke, they can pass on the cost to every ratepayer of private insurance in the state.
And he said that his reforms would move people off the FAIR plan. And of course, that never happened.
FAIR plan has only gone up.
The state's insurer of last resort. The plan received an emergency $1 billion bailout from the insurance industry last year,
which they passed on to consumers.
For your convenience.
After running out of cash.
Once you protect your home, fortify it, insurers come back in.
When is this all going to happen? You're termed out, jackass.
He just needs to say whatever he needs to say to make it seem like he's on top of it. And then he's going to move on and blame whoever it is that replaces him.
Brings down the cost and, gets insurers writing you a policy and getting you out of these FAIR plans, which is the ultimate goal.
It won't be easy. Thanks to climate change, fire risk faced by insurers will continue to grow. And with it,
also incompetence.
Yeah, they keep blaming the fire in Pacific Palisades on climate change. It had nothing to do with climate change. It was an arsonist, and it was a fight between the state and the city over territory that resulted in the fire department not being able to fully extinguish the fire. And then the winds came when the mayor was in Africa instead of sticking around.
And with it will come higher costs to homeowners.
That's just the reality of where we're at in an insurance crisis in the largest state in the country.
I bet the insurance companies love when he says that.
Oh, they love everything about him.
And indeed, clearly we're going to be facing higher costs going forward, which suggests that the old ways of setting rates no longer apply in a new, riskier environment. How do you change that, though? Nobody really knows at this point.
You move.
And that's what a lot of people are doing, as California is expected to lose between 3 and 5 congressional seats in the next census. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, this Friday, we're going to be in the San Fernando Valley.
It's coming up in just a couple of days. We're heading back to the Pineapple Hill Saloon and Grill on Friday the 16th from noon to 3. So get ready with your excuses for why you're not going to work on Friday. It's a live broadcast of the John Phillips Show. The Pineapple Hill is a great venue. They got a beautiful patio in the back there with great food, great drinks, and it's a very important show. We got special guest Susan Shelley from the Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association joining us because the courts have made it easier to raise your taxes. We need you to come by and sign the petition to save Prop 13. You can help out right now by going to the website, saveprop13.com, print out that ballot, print out that proposition, sign it, send it in. We'll tell you more about your taxpayer rights and protecting Prop 13, but we'll be there live on Friday in Sherman Oaks, and so will you. It's the John Phillips Show live at Pineapple Hill this Friday from noon to 3.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Randy, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Well, let's do that right now. 790 KABC welcomes Billy Gibbons and the BFG Band. I'm pretty sure I can't say what those letters stand for. It's at the City National Grove of Anaheim on January 25th. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Nederlander Concerts. Good luck dialing.
So California Governor Gavin Newsom released his budget for the year and didn't even bother to show up to the presentation.
He showed up to the big state of the state that got national coverage, but when it came to a budget presentation where he's supposed to answer questions from local reporters, he sent out one of his lackeys so nobody would pay attention to the fact that the state is in a deficit yet again. Even though revenue is up, spending is way up. Ashley Zavala from KCRA3 is here to explain it all.
Governor Newsom's administration today rolled out the first draft of his proposed state spending plan for the upcoming year. And while acknowledging budget challenges, the governor is proposing significantly more spending.
The budget is now $350 billion a year. When Gavin first started, it was about $200 billion.
And don't forget, with this proposed wealth confiscation tax that it will be on the ballot, provided they get enough signatures, the billionaires, the people that pay a disproportionate amount of the taxes in California, are already moving out of state. And every time I click refresh, I find out that another one has joined them.
KCRA 3 political director Ashley Zavala joins us now with why today's update is leaving more questions than answers.
That's right. Because he's terming out of office. This is Governor Gavin Newsom's final budget year that he needs to figure out with state lawmakers.
Usually he brags about how much he loves doing this press conference because it's so in the weeds and so wonky, and he's got all the stuff in his head because he can't read, and he didn't show up.
Nope.
The governor himself did not give the presentation. In fact, for the first time, he's not the one answering a lot of those questions that we have. So an overview of the numbers that you need to know. The governor is proposing a $348.9 billion spending plan, which is nearly $30 billion more than the state's budget right now.
And keep in mind, spending is going up on things like education, despite the fact that we have a declining enrollment.
Newsom's Department of Finance says California is facing a budget deficit of $2.9 billion, which is much smaller than what California's legislative analysts said it would be. The LAO has said that figure is $18 billion. Now,
I think I trust the LAO on this one.
Oh, yes. And Gavin Newsom is not fond of that office.
Now, the reason.
See, Gavin's budget is betting on that AI is going to do great. The LAO is like, there might be a little bit of an AI bust this year.
Well, they may do great, they may not do great, but if people are moving out, including rich people, then you're going to lose a lot of tax dollars to other states.
Now, the reason why the numbers are so different here is because the LAO is bracing for a possible economic downturn and the possibility that the stock market slows. Newsom's number does not forecast those risks, expecting the state to bring in more money with the help of AI and tech, which are booming right now. But
okay,
the
think about this for a second, because all Gavin Newsom wants to do right now is to attack Donald Trump all over Twitter, all over social media, go on the podcast, go on the TV shows. Trump is Hitler, Trump is Hitler, Trump is Hitler. Yet when you look at his own budget, what he is relying on to meet his numbers is that the Trump economy is going to be so booming that it's even going to lift all the sales in California.
No, that's the California economy holding up the rest of the nation, John.
I see.
But the governor's plan does not address major budget problems that are projected after he leaves office. The legislative analyst has said budget shortfalls of about $35 billion a year could begin in the financial year that starts in July of 2027. So based on what Newsom's administration presented today, the governor does not have a plan to tackle that issue laid out, likely leaving it up to California's next governor to figure out.
It's going to be your problem, Katie Porter.
And this is what he has historically done. He just disputes the number from the legislative analyst's office and says, nope, I'm right. And then eventually has to acknowledge that he's not right at some point in the future when no one's paying attention.
Well, and now because they do these budgets in a 2-year cycle, we know that there is going to be a deficit going into the next year. So everyone who's running for governor right now, all the big plans that they have, they're not going to get to do any of them.
I asked Newsom's Department of Finance director about this and about the governor's absence. Why is the governor basically deciding to let the next governor figure out the state's budget problems that are expected in the future?
So that's not what the governor is doing?
Yes, it is.
That is exactly what he's doing.
This is the lackey that has no stage presence whatsoever. That they would assume if we have him do the budget, everyone will tune out because that's what we want.
And again, I think that first I would say it goes to the overall strategy here that I mentioned at the beginning and a couple times is, and we took this approach last year, and it really is driven by a couple factors, but mainly we know that we've seen in recent years that there have been significant changes in our forecast between governor's budget and May revise, and the May revise and the governor feel strongly that's going to be his final budget proposal, and
So that's the real budget. He doesn't really need to do this budget.
Okay, so you notice when Gavin has the Glee kids operating his social media accounts, they're bitchy and they're insulting and they're quick and they make all kinds of pop culture references. Yet when he sends someone out to talk about something serious like the budget, they sound like this guy.
Well, this is your average middle management California bureaucrat.
Our plan does not include new significant investments. And as I mentioned earlier...
Wait, you're spending $30 billion more than you did last year.
A lot of the biggest factors in increased spending are from constitutional requirements, Prop 98, Prop 2. And
by the way, those are the ones that say that if you bring in more money, which we did, more of that money has to go to the schools. That happens whether or not enrollment is going up or in free fall, which it is all throughout the state of California.
Because, of course, that is there thanks to the teachers' unions to preserve their jobs.
Also, we are seeing increases in some of our entitlement programs, caseload increases, but the governor's not proposing new significant spending.
We're not starting up any new programs, but the existing ones are going to be way more expensive.
Because we have more people on the dole.
And we will continue to monitor where things are. And again, the plan is at May Revise to ensure that we're not only balancing in the budget year, but looking beyond that. And that is what the governor plans to do.
So why is the governor, though, not here to explain this? This is the first year in his 8 year. This is the first budget where, short of an emergency, he's not taking questions from us. Why are we hearing? Why did he have you? Do you have any sense of why?
Uncomfortable.
Oh, yes. And this guy doesn't know the answer. He just drew the short straw.
Well, the governor previewed the budget yesterday. And in his State of State speech.
Yeah, but that was a speech where he wasn't going to take questions.
Yeah, that's one-way communication.
And this is the beginning. The governor's budget is the beginning of the process. And
this isn't even the B team. This is the C team.
No, this guy's not playing for the Yankees. He's playing for the Mud Hens.
And again, the May Revise will really be the framework for what the ultimate 26-27 budget entails. And
don't pay attention to these numbers. Pay attention to the one where the legislature is going to have about 3 weeks to get everything together.
This guy, who's supposed to be a wizard on the budget, is having a very difficult time communicating basic things.
Entails, and he will be here to answer questions at that time.
He's got about 15 more podcasts to record between now and then.
800-222-5222 is telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. The Fix California Hour coming up after the news at 1. Professor Barbara Stone joins us, so make sure you stick around for that. Right now, we're going through the sound of California Governor Gavin Newsom's team unveiling their budget. However, Gavin Newsom wasn't there.
Let's go back to KCRA 3 and Ashley Zavala.
Director Stephen Shaw there. He mentioned Prop 98 and Prop 2. Those are minimum funding guarantees related to public schools that are required under state law. So I
think we need to get rid of those.
Yeah, no kidding. If you have a declining enrollment, why should more money be given to the schools when the money could be better spent elsewhere?
Well, Cecily knows why.
So if California is bringing in more money, the state is required to put more money toward those things. Now, other repeated questions for the director today was around healthcare dollars and how the state is preparing for federal cuts. The budget presentation didn't include concrete ways to address the impacts that are expected to be significant. Some are bracing for the H.R. 1 healthcare cuts to total about $100 billion over the next 5 years. Stephen Shaw basically said repeatedly that they're monitoring the situation and that in May they'll have a clearer picture on that.
Can I get an assist, Cecily?
Stephen Shaw basically said repeatedly that they're monitoring the situation and that in May they'll have a clearer picture on that.
Talk about punting. Well, we don't know what's going to happen, so come back to us in the spring.
And remember how this system works. The California legislature has to have the budget done by mid-June. I think it's June 12th. So Gavin is giving them 3 weeks to get it all done because this budget doesn't mean anything.
No, and when you go back to the old days, California budgets require a 2/3 vote. which usually meant Republicans had to sign on too. So there were serious negotiations that had to take place because the other side had a seat at the table. Well, now that we're a one-party state and Democrats have supermajorities in both houses of the legislature, what the Democratic Party wants goes. And unless there's an infighting going on in the Democratic Party, Gavin Newsom is going to get what he wants. Now, what's interesting is what we've seen play out in recent weeks, where the Democratic Party in California, which is usually on the same page on the major statewide issues, we've seen some fissures. We initially saw that with San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan and a couple of others on Prop 36, where Gavin Newsom did not want Prop 36 to pass. He likes the soft on crime approach. The mayors say, hey, now wait a minute, we're getting blamed for a spike in crime, and we need to do something about that, and Prop 36 is what we need to do. Well, Gavin Newsom didn't like that, yet Matt Mahan and others persisted. Then we're looking at Ro Khanna, the congressman from San Jose, who is very upset at all the government waste, fraud, and abuse. The state of California wasting money on programs instead of making sure that those services get to the people that they claim to care about. He said the state of California needs an audit. Well, who would you be auditing? Well, Gavin Newsom, of course. And Gavin Newsom's team didn't like that, so they started sniping on social media with Ro Khanna. And now we're seeing a break between Gavin Newsom and the SEIU over this wealth confiscation tax. Gavin Newsom doesn't want to be known nationally as a tax and spender. The SEIU doesn't care about Gavin's national profile. They just want to gobble up more dollars at the state level, so they're moving forward with it. If this trend of Democrats pushing back on Gavin Newsom continues within the legislature, this budget could be a very unpleasant experience for him. So far, the legislature has been relatively compliant, and he's been able to steamroll them. But now we have a new leader in the Senate, and we have a speaker in the Assembly who wants to move on to Congress, so he has ambitions beyond Sacramento, beyond where Gavin Newsom can punish him or help him. So he's going to do what he thinks benefits him. And that may be in aligning himself with Gavin Newsom, or it may be taking a position that does not align with Gavin Newsom. Who knows? It would be very interesting to watch the state legislature stand up to Gavin, however, and it would be for the first time.
All right, this is a lot to take in. I think a lot of people, when they hear budget stuff, their eyes start to cross. But the bottom line, is this proposed budget balanced at this point? We know the state has a deficit.
Well, that's the question. I actually asked Director Steffenshaw, where are we seeing the biggest cuts to help with that? Where is the biggest reduction happening? And he basically said across the board, there are no significant cuts.
We can't cut anything. We don't do that here.
No, because every entity has a Cecily Myart crew standing up for their interests. You go after healthcare dollars, then you're going to get the nurses union after you. You go after dollars for the janitors, the SEIU is going to go after you. You go after education, the CTA is going to come after you.
Well, and this is also going to be an election year where you're going to see on the November ballot, based on where you live, possibly a half a dozen different bonds and sales tax increases. In San Diego, they're proposing a city and county sales tax increase to deal with their budget, on top of a statewide $20 billion metro bailout. In the Bay Area, the 5 major Bay Area counties are looking at local sales tax increases to bail out their metros, and there's going to be so much more of this. So they're expecting a whole bunch of more money to come in.
And it'll be interesting to see if Democratic voters are willing to stand up to Gavin Newsom.
Well, let's check in with them.
No, I don't know enough to give you any good information, but good luck finding someone who does.
And that's why we are where we are.
When people asked about raising taxes or, again, cuts, he said this is something that we might see more of in May. And just he keeps saying May because that's when the governor provides the updated spending plan. And as he mentioned, the governor will apparently be there and will answer the questions. But
he'll be at the press conference in 4 months. In between now and then, he's got about 50 podcasts to host.
I love the fact that this isn't something that's important enough for him to attend. Yet he's willing to weigh in on every subject on social media.
But the whole purpose of talking about this now is because state lawmakers launch a whole set of hearings to discuss all of this. So in the months leading up to May, apparently, we're going to have to wait for some concrete ideas, and we're not going to hear anything until potentially the last minute on some of this.
So how are Republicans responding?
So they don't have any power.
No, you need at least a third to have a voice on the budget, and Republicans don't have that.
On some of this.
So how are Republicans responding?
So State Senate Budget Vice Chairman Roger Niello, he's a Republican from Roseville, he noted the state is in a strange situation where California is bringing in more money, and that's great, he says. But the state is still facing these big shortfalls that are structural, and he said that's alarming.
This budget is $150 billion bigger than when Gavin Newsom took office in 2019. Are things that much better here, or are they way worse?
Nope. And knowing what we know about what's going on in Minnesota with the Somalis, how much of that money do you think is being stolen here if you don't even notice a difference in services that you receive, despite spending that much more?
He overall does not buy that the state's shortfall this year could be as small as Newsom is projecting, again at $2.9 billion. I also heard from Republican Congressman Vince Fong, who texted me this afternoon, saying in part that it's President Donald Trump and Republicans who have contributed to this pro-growth, this booming stock market, and this AI growth that's helping the state's economy, especially right now.
Yeah, just wait till AI can run for Congress. So there you go. That's the latest. Gavin says he'll show up in May.
All right, there he is. Our absentee landlord governor at it again. We have 2 more hours coming up on the John Phillips Show. The Fix California hour is next. Professor Barbara Stone joins us. Don't you go anywhere.